So one of the things that you've probably talked about in all of your social studies classes is map skills. So this is really just going to be a refresher for how the map skills should work and should look. This is a two-part video. So you're going to watch this one and then you'll see part two where we actually look at a map, so that will help you to kind of place some of these things that we just talked about on a map. So one of the guiding questions I want you to keep in mind is, why is it important for you to be able to read a map? And we know that everybody uses GPS for everything, so it's also important for us to still have that ability to use a paper map. I know that some of you probably haven't even seen a paper map, but it's really, really important for you to be able to read those maps for a variety of reasons. So keep that in mind as we go through this presentation. So two terms that you should be really familiar with, longitude and latitude. So they are lines that you might see on a map. The longitudes are the lines that run north and south, while latitude run east and west. And they measure those distances in degrees, and we'll look at that when we look at our map in just a minute. The equator is 0 degrees latitude, so that's the midpoint between the North and the South Pole. And it's that imaginary line. It's not actually there, but you'll hear people say all the time that, you know, it's warmest right there around the equator. It's because it's that halfway point. Then you have the prime meridian, which is the north-south version of the equator. It's at 0 degrees longitude, and it runs through the United Kingdom. It runs through Spain, through Western Africa and Antarctica. So it's that north or south version of the equator. And then the hemispheres. So the prime meridian and the equator divide our hemispheres into either the northern hemisphere or southern hemisphere, or the eastern or western hemisphere. So obviously the United States, we're in the western hemisphere. So tools that you can use while reading a map. A compass. And if you're a scout or have been involved with scouting, you know exactly how a compass works. And that's a tool that helps you to figure out which direction you might be heading. On a map, a compass, or also known as a compass rose, helps the user to locate those directions. So I've drawn, you know, a really rough version of a compass with those directions on it. So the needle of a compass is magnetized so that it goes directly north. So it faces the North Pole. So with a compass, you can roughly tell which direction you're headed. The arrow will change based on where you're going. A lot of people have compasses on their cars or computerized compasses, so you've probably seen that before. There are 4 cardinal directions, and cardinal directions are those major directions, and that is north, south, east, and west. In between are like northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, and that can help you get a better idea of your location instead of just using those cardinal directions. Another useful tool, and one that can be really hard for those of us who are not very good at math, is scale. And maps are made to scale, which means that essentially there is a direct connection between a unit of measurement and the actual distance. So on some maps, it might be that 1 inch on the scale equals 1 mile on the map. And we're going to look at that when we look at our road map in just a second. So another example, a map of a town might show a mile-long strip of fast food restaurants and auto dealers with that 1 inch, and that goes back to that 1 inch to 1 mile scale. Time zones, and if you've ever done a lot of traveling, you know how time zones work. The Earth is essentially divided into those 24 time zones, and those correspond to the 24 hours in a day. As the Earth rotates, the sun might shine on different areas, moving from east to west during that course of a day. Places in the same longitude will be in the same time zone. So New York City has the same time zone as Raleigh because we're in that same area of longitude. And then another important tool is a map legend. And that is basically the key that helps you to realize the different symbols within a map. Objects or colors in the legend represent something that's going to be going on in the map. So stay tuned for video 2 that's actually going to look at a different map, and we're going to show you those different qualities of a map. When you're doing your map project tomorrow, you're going to want to include obviously a map legend and a map scale, specifically if you're doing historical points or you're showing how wide an area needs to be. So keep all of this stuff in mind for your activity in class tomorrow, and make sure that you watch the second part to this video. Thanks.